Hi, welcome. This is the CaddyInfo.com Cadillac Conversations. We do these on Thursday nights, and it's an opportunity for people who enjoy Cadillacs to get together and talk Cadillac and for us to talk about any Cadillac news of the day. I have with me tonight Cadillac Jim from the Caddy Info forums.
Good evening.
We may see our friend Texas Jim show up. We may see our friend Air Mike show up. He has a habit of coming in late, so we try. What we try and do is we get on a little bit before our broadcast starts, but we generally start the broadcast at 7:30 Central Time, which is 8:30 Eastern Time or 5:30 Pacific Time. They so I what I normally do is kind of scan the different Cadillac sites and news bits to see what Cadillac news we have. The Motor Authority website is opining or rumoring that the replacement for Cadillac has said in the past that the replacement for the ATS and the replacement for the CTS will be neither the ATS or the CTS. But the Motor Authority website has started a new section called the CT4. And what they're saying is, in their opinion, the Cadillac will be coming out with a new car called a CT4 that will replace the current ATS and CTS in the new naming convention, if you will. So the CT8 in Cadillac's new nomenclature, the sedans are all called CT, and then a number indicating the size and expense. And so the CT6 is the new luxury car that's coming out, which will be larger than a CTS. The CT8 is the eventual ultra luxury car, which will be even larger than a CT6. And so a CT4 might be, it's bigger than a BMW 3 Series, but the BMW 4 Series is actually the coupe version of the 3 Series. So the CT4 might actually be about the same size as an ATS, but perhaps styled differently. The Cadillac has commented off the record that they feel the issue with the ATS is that the rear seat doesn't have enough room for small families and so on. And so if this CT4 is actually has the wheelbase of the ATS, but has a little more hip room and headroom in the rear seat. So if you will, it's a less slopey ATS, but a brand new car, not a replacement for an ATS. Now, why would you go out of your way to say our next car will neither be a replacement for the ATS or a replacement for the CTS? What did that mean in your mind, Jim?
Well, that means in my mind that they have a whole new platform coming up that's going to replace the Sigma completely. And they're going to have probably two wheelbases, two trim levels, and two drive lines.
Now, I
Some
had
of
not
what they're
considered
doing.
that. Do you think the Omega platform can be made into a short Sigma, as short as
Uh,
the Sigma platform?
well, I don't know.
Omega is what the new CT6 and
uh,
and CT8 are coming out on.
well, I don't. Why would they want to take a luxury sedan platform and try to make world-class sports cars on the same
Because it's
platform?
both. And the CT6 is going to weigh about the same as the current CTS, even though it's larger. And so if you could actually make a short wheelbase version of the Omega and keep it that light. So if we could get a CTS that's 3,200 pounds or an ATS that's 3,000 pounds.
Well, by the time they're done with the finite element analysis and so forth, the suspension arms are going to have different mounting points and different lengths, and you do that with a different wheelbase, and calling it the same platform is really wordsmithing. I really think that if they, unless they design the bigger platform around, the world class performing platform to begin with, well then I can't see it going the other way around quite so easily. It just strikes me as that they're going to have two platforms, one for the smaller, sportier cars and one for the larger luxury. That makes sense too because if you design the platform for ride and handling and luxury from the get-go, it's going to be different from one that if you design for a world-class sports with a daily driver variant like the CTS. So I really think that it's going to be a different platform.
Now, some people have claimed that the Omega platform is actually an extended Sigma platform.
Well, you give me a bill of
So that's very
materials.
confusing.
Yeah, it is. But you give me a bill of materials, and I'll let you know whether I agree or not. But in other words, you look at all the suspension parts and undercar parts and so forth, and you look at the percentage that are interchangeable, and that's one criteria. But to me, the key is are the suspension arms interchangeable, and do they attach at the same points on the chassis? If they are, it's the same platform. If they aren't, it's not. It's going to have fundamentally different dynamics if you change the mounting points and the links.
Yeah, the I think platform is really kind of an old school manufacturing term anyway, right? Because the idea was that every car that's kind of on the same platform could be made within the same factory without retooling.
Right.
So so the modern factories though are much better at and my video is gone not real time for some reason, so I may have I may have on accident opened too many windows that had video running. Sometimes when you open these different, the websites are really terrible about running video advertisements in the background. And
Yeah.
I have plenty of computer, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
running some kind of video in the background as well. I have plenty of computer, but there's a limit to how many close to real time videos that any of the computers can run at the same time.
Yeah. I have 8 4 gigahertz processors, and I've found clickbait websites that can bring it to its knees.
So So I like your thinking though, is that if they're coming to some new platform, so the CT6 is on the Omega 2 platform, but if the Omega platform, so then if you take whatever they learned from making the CT6, which got it to be 200 pounds lighter than it would have been on the Alpha platform, then you should be able to go back and make a lighter Alpha, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. The technology they have for getting the strength to weight ratio up and making a lighter car, yes, that should transfer to a slightly different platform.
And so one of the things I love about the ATS it's a nice wheelbase size, but it's also so light. And so
Mhm.
if we can take another 150 pounds out of the ATS, it'll scale somewhat because with a bigger car, there's, the same percentage of a smaller car is going to be a lower number than the 200 pounds on the CT6.
Yeah.
But uh, that still seems very promising to me. What do you think about an ATS V Sport? We still don't have the V out, but do you think that there's still a niche market there for an ATS V Sport that's somewhere between an ATS V and an ATS Premium?
Well, if we could get uh, what's his face to drive one, and he thought the CTSV was too tough a suspension. If we can get him to try an ATSV Sport, maybe we could get a reading from him. I don't know. I kind of think so, simply because it's a price point. It's a very high performing car, both for handling and acceleration. So I think there's a niche for it, just on the basis of price range.
Yeah, I'd like to see, because by the time you option up an ATS-V, there's an issue there in my mind. It starts at like 63, but by the time you get the luxury version, you're at 83.
Yeah.
And that's quite a void from the 46, fully loaded ATS premium is in the 46, 47 range. And so they've certainly left themselves, with a 40K gap, they've left themselves 20K to play with. Should there be an ATS-V that's not the luxury version? Should
Yes.
that car even exist?
Absolutely, because if you're going to race it, you're going to be taking all that stuff out anyway. Yeah, so why not?
But should it only be special order? Should there be no dealer cars with an ATS-V non-luxury?
Uh, Depends on what you mean by dealer cars, and depends on the dealer. There will be dealers that want one on the floor because they're big enough and they have the cash flow to where they can just use one to draw in the 20 somethings, to look at it.
And I know BMW does that too, and so Cadillac wants to be BMW, but the it just seems to me that if they had come out with the full Lux ATS-V and kept that at 63, that's the only one you can get. That would have been much more competitive than coming out and adding these other options in the one that you really want. Because what the magazines will do is they'll run, the max optioned up one, even though it doesn't add any performance against the BMW, and then they'll say, "Well, look, it costs more."
Yeah.
So what? It gave you the same performance as the BMW, or about the same performance as BMW, but it cost more. So why get that instead of the BMW?
Bingo.
So
Well,
I think it's a
actually,
trap. I think that
you got
GM
to
should.
drive one to answer that. If people drove one, they might choose it because
Yeah,
the BMWs tend not to drive that well unless you're a boy racer and you really just like the involvement with the drivetrain all the time.
but the idea that you could have a $63,000 Cadillac that's not fully optioned just seems wrong to me.
Well, it's wrong if you're thinking about buying it and taking it home and using it for a weekend car or daily driver. But if you're looking to race one, it's an enormous expense to strip one down to the bare frame and take all that crap
Yeah,
out.
yeah, but that's not the retail customer. And so what
No,
I'm
it's
saying
not.
is in a retail environment, no. And same thing with the CTS V Sport. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that market, as you know, because I'm thinking that I'll either get a V Coupe or a V Sport as my next daily driver.
Yeah.
The but I constantly have to shop for the V Sport Premium and not just the V Sport because it has, the other gadgets that I want.
Well, remember the V Sport is there to fill a price niche. If they offer it with and without a bunch of luxury options, they have a broader price point that they can cover with the same performance.
But I think their price, back to my argument, of course, that I think their price they reach too far with their price ranges. So it's an old argument. I will let that one go. I've been watching out for the XLRs. I saw an odd ad this morning where a gentleman had posted a 2009 XLR here in the neighborhood on our local Craigslist. It had 2,400 miles on it.
Wow, well, that's a garage queen.
Yes. So, but he didn't say how much did he want for it, and he didn't say where it was, and he didn't say the VIN number.
It may not exist.
Yeah, it may not exist. So I sent him a note and I said, "Where's the car? How much do you want for it? And what's the VIN number?" So he sent me back a note right away. It's 2,244 miles. So he sent me back a note right away and he said he wanted $45,000 for it, but he didn't say where the car was. He didn't say what the VIN number was. Now, is that a scary question? If I ask you, what you have a car for sale, what's the VIN?
Uh, there are fraud issues with going public with a VIN.
But
I'm not
if you
clear
want
on
to
what they
sell me
are.
a car, I need to know the VIN number so that I can look at the provenance and the history of it, right?
I think if you get serious enough to go look at it, you'll get the VIN.
So I sent him back a note, and all the you see this one is marked XLR Platinum. All the 2009 non-supercharged cars were platinums.
Yeah.
There was only the platinum in 2009. So I sent him back a note, and I said, "Well, I'm here in Plano, and hopefully the car is close to Plano, and I'd like to come see it." And so he said, "Well, he's nearby in one of the suburb communities, but the car's not. It's about 8 hours away." And and he didn't want to drive it here and add 500 miles to the 2,000 miles hunted. So what did I suggest? So What he won't tell me what the VIN is. He won't tell me where the car is, and he's not prepared to show it.
Well, see, 8 hours gets you south of the
Everywhere.
border. They get you out of Texas
Yeah.
from that north central location. So, is it New Mexico or
St. Louis.
Oklahoma or
Could be St. Louis. Could
Kansas
be. Yeah.
or
Who knows?
Arkansas or Louisiana? I do not think it's in Louisiana or Arkansas. Uh, I think it must be in New Mexico.
Yep, could be.
High
But
Springs,
at
New
this
Mexico.
point, I think we had talked me out of the deal, even though it's a beautiful car and an interesting example. That if you want to sell me a car, you need to tell me about the car.
He's looking for a collector that'll buy it sight unseen.
I guess that's what he's thinking, and I think he's getting inquiries about it because it's such an interesting, with only 2,000 miles on it. Now, I'm actually at that mileage, I'm actually hesitant to buy a car with that low a mileage because if a car only has 2,000 miles in 9 years, then that means it's been sitting a lot, right?
Oh,
In
absolutely.
seven
Probably up on
years.
blocks, and it's gonna need a lot of work to get it running.
Well, after the XLR sits for a week, you have to replace the battery, is my understanding, because of all the gadgets on it.
Mhm.
And so you'd have to, maybe he kept it in a battery tender in a climate control garage. Hopefully he did. Looks like it's in great shape, but uh, I would be concerned about that. And so if it were a local car and I could go look at it and drive it and feel it and so on, but he's also asking full value for it. That the KBB on that car is about 42, and so he's starting at 45. So clearly he's hoping to recover, full value.
Well, it had better be running, ready to drive away at that price. And it doesn't sound like it is.
He may not even allow test drives, right? Because if he's trying to preserve that 2,400, 2,242 miles.
No, I think it's just too complicated for somebody who wants to get in the car and drive it. He's he's
Yeah,
like
well,
he's looking to somebody's going to auction that car, or a collector's going to get it, or something like that.
yeah, because it's the last year, it's red, and so I think a collector will pick that up who will value the 2,000 miles. I think I'd actually be happier with a car that had 10,000 to 20,000 in that range, and
Yeah,
was priced somewhat lower than the 2,000 mile example.
yeah.
So I'm still split between fishing back and getting a 6 or a 7 that was the V model versus waiting for an 8 or a 9. But I think I'll just keep watching the local. We do have some pop up in the local market here, and so just keep an eye out. And I'm kind of against getting another silver car because I've had several silver cars in a row. And so that's why when the red ones or the black ones pop up, then it kind of catches my eye more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a supercharged model. And this was not, of course, but it would be nice to get a 8 or a 9 model. The big thing is the 9, and I think I showed you guys that, but the 9 has the power dome hood.
Yeah.
That they used up all those hoods in 9 or finally caught the styling up to the V styling, and so I would like to get that. Now I still have the Austin in my garage, so as my wife would say, I still have a chore there before we need to go shop anyway.
Unless you can trade it for in part for the CTSV.
Yeah, but it doesn't belong to me. It's my son's car. My dad's wife gave it to my son, so
Yeah.
he'll have to. Now he would be happy for me to trade it and write him a check. That would work out just fine for him, I think. But no, so it would. There's going to be a ATS Midnight Special Edition in 2016, so that was interesting. Car and Driver brought that out. Where if you'd like to get our old friend Triple H from the forums would have appreciated that. That if you want black chrome instead of shiny chrome on your new ATS, you can get the ATS Midnight Special Edition. I love the name of that, the Midnight Special. That I like an ATS Midnight Special. Thank you very much.
A black one.
Well, that seems a natural, right? The one that they show in the picture is actually looks like a flat white one.
It looked great in any bright color. White would
So
look good too, but it was not as good as red with black chrome or yellow or
yeah,
green.
I
So I
would
think it
like
made
to
her
see
yellow.
them. I'd like to see them bring out a bright yellow Cadillac. I think that would sell, but I would like. I wouldn't mind having a bright yellow ATS-V or a bright yellow CTS-V.
Mm.
But or forest or a British racing green. I always like British racing green, and so I'd like to see that in the. But to more to the point, I'd like Cadillac to bring out cars in their racing colors. So let's
Yeah.
see, some of the undertones from the CTSV racers in the production cars.
Well, the CTSV.R is a car that is sold in very small numbers. It does exist. So,
Well, that was terrible. It froze. My video froze on a picture of me with my eyes closed. So now it's
that's,
working properly. Say something else, Jim, quick.
hello, hello. That's that's Cadillac Jim here.
Yeah, exactly.
The Huffer
So
Puffer crowd is almost complete.
yeah, so I think there's around the down this on the same block as my son's uniform store. There's a car skin place, and so I'm going to go talk to them and show them the different images and see one of these days and see what they can do in terms of making making some car skins available and wraps available in the Cadillac racing colors. Maybe we'll offer that as a sidelight on the Caddy Info Forum: is get your Cadillac racing wraps.
Hmm.
I
I
know
told you,
nobody but me thinks that's a good idea, but I think that's a splendid idea.
I told you about that wrap company that wanted to sell me a wrap for my CTSV that was had skulls and bones around the bottom foot, and the rest of it was looked like riveted boilerplate, like 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 an apocalypse, zombie apocalypse car.
And I thought that was a good idea for the Cadillac for some reason.
I think they thought it was a good idea to make a sale. They didn't give a damn about taste.
Oh,
That's what I think.
they
Uh,
figured you had an expensive car, so maybe you had pocket money.
well, some people see a CTSV and they think pavement ripper,
Yes.
and that's over 2 years I've had that car now, but then I don't think I've slipped the tires more than a couple of rotations the whole time. Cumulative. I'm just careful about that, except for when it's wet, of course. Then you can't.
And
Sometimes
your car's still doing okay?
it's the most reliable car I've ever had. I have
Yeah.
not had to do anything to it. I've had some funny things happen with the phone in terms of not wanting to hang up when a call ended and stuff like that. But the car itself is a brick. It's just nothing but change oil. I put windshield washer fluid in it, and it's got. I'm looking for the 50,000 mile checkup in a few weeks, and I've decided to do the 70,000 mile service. I'm going to change the coolant and the engine and supercharger and service the transmission. Yeah, Cadillac is recommending that you do that at 70,000 miles now. They finally figured out that people are not going to roll over for seeing their transmission go to hell at 100,000 miles or 120,000 miles, and so they are recommending that they do that. I think the more these things stay on the road longer, then the better it is for them because the old 30s thinking of we'll get those old cars off the road so we can sell more. That never did make any sense from the reality point of view. And if your car looks good, well, then more people will want it. It's in the long term, it's market share.
Now, one of the features of some of the new GM cars is going to be a cell phone cooler where you can plug your cell phone in, but they'll also have a pad there where the pad actually stays cold so that the cell phone doesn't heat up while you're using it, right?
Oh, you mean if you go on Bluetooth, the phone doesn't heat up?
Yeah, like I connect my phone. My car's 2008, so it doesn't have streaming Bluetooth, but I connect it as a video input and use the car speakers.
Yeah.
And so if I get in the car and it's 117 degrees in there when I get in, and the phone's running internet all the time, then it tends to overheat. So what they're saying is on the new GM cars, they're going to have a pad where you can put your phone on the pad and it will cool it off.
Why the hell not?
So what the way I've solved that is I take my phone and it's plugged in this end into the gadget, and I stick it in the air conditioning vent.
Hmm.
I
When you
my The
when you said
STSV has a long, tall air conditioning vent, so I just stick it right there in the air conditioning vent, and then when I get home, it's ice cold. So
you've already broke the code.
so
When you said phone cooler, I thought there was going to be something that hold Diet Coke or iced
yeah, even
tea
better, and
that,
and
that
it'd
has
be
a
right
cell
off the
phone built on the
USB
side.
on your phone, right?
Yeah, a phone docking station.
Yeah,
That would work too.
let's stop using this plug just to charge the phone. We ought to be plugging our phone coolers into that and keep our Diet Coke cold.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Use up the battery in the phone for good purposes.
Yeah. Well, I figured it'd plug into the power port and the armrest.
Well, the other giveaway would be like the Escalade Platinums had cooled cup holders,
I
which I
like
always
that.
thought was cool. I would like to have that in my car as a cooled cup holder. I've gotten in the habit in the morning is I'll grab a Diet Coke out of the fridge and drive it all the way, drive it for my morning commute in the cup holder, and then pull it out and enjoy it after I arrive. And
Hmm.
so a cooled cup holder would be a bonus for
Oh
that
yeah.
purpose.
Ah, there's so many possibilities and so few Cadillacs.
Well, the key possibility that I'm back to thinking in the back of my mind is what kind of aftermarket air conditioning system could be added, dedicated just to the supercooler coolant cooling.
Well,
In
the
other words,
problem is,
what kind of uh, 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 you know electrical cooling unit could I add to the supercooler to the supercharger coolant tank to lower the supercharger coolant fluid temperature?
well, the simplest one would be a Peltier or a thermoelectric cooler. One of those solid state things they use on small water coolers. But that's can't get the caloric. The number of calories per hour, joule or BTUs per hour that you can get out of a Freon compressor. I think that if you dedicate a lot of your regular air conditioner to it, you're going to lose the cabin air conditioning when that's on, and I don't see how you could switch back and forth very easily. So
And,
I really
and
think
GM, please add a second air conditioning system on the CTSV for the supercharger. Thank you very much.
yes, yes, that's where I was getting to. Thank you.
But yeah, it's
Took the
one
word
more belt
right
to
out of my
run. It
mouth.
could be a half size system dedicated to the supercharger and give us another 40 horsepower. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah.
Change
Well,
order.
at least 40 horsepower would be about right. I suppose on a average day, on a hot day, it'd be more. On a
Yeah,
cold day,
if you include what you don't lose, but yeah, on a cold day, if it's 30 degrees out, it wouldn't add anything.
no,
No, wait.
they can go down to zero, but I'm not sure that would do any good on the IAT2.
Right.
How
No,
cold is the air when you put 15 pounds boost on it? I'd have to run the adiabatic equations. I don't have those numbers memorized.
no, it's not. It's You get about a 20-degree increase.
Hmm.
So, but it only becomes an issue in the programming if the IAT2 after the increase is above 120 or 125 or so.
Oh, that just that's major. That's a hard threshold for reducing boost.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So that's the issue is if the outside temperature, like here in Texas, it's not unusual for it to be 111, right?
yeah,
So the intercooler can't get below 130, and so it's constantly going to be pulling timing.
yeah. Well, it's pulling timing, but also your maximum boost is going to go down on a hot day.
Yeah. Well, because with a supercharger, yeah, with the turbocharger, you have a choice of adding more boost because you recognize that the air, uh, uh, a
IAT2.
supercharger has mechanical limits. A turbocharger can keep packing it up until you reach the blow off pressure, depending on the design of the size of the turbocharger for your engine and so on.
Hmm.
But and like in the current applications, Cadillac is undersizing the turbos for low RPM torque. In other words, they're making up for the fact that this is a 2 liter 4 or a 3.6 liter 6 instead of a 6.2 liter engine, right?
Hmm.
And so the engine never reaches its power peak, if you will, because the turbos are running out of air at 54, 5600 RPM.
Hmm.
So and the trade-off is if you put bigger turbos on, then you lose some of that early torque from the turbo spinning up so rapidly.
But they're getting good drivability, excellent
Yeah,
performance, and better engine reliability.
yeah, supercars
And
and
they give the aftermarket some room, and they let them pay
yeah,
for the blown motors.
and you got to watch your trades there, right? Because
Yeah,
some of the first ATS conversions we saw where they put bigger turbo, bigger piping, bigger, better calibration, da da da, but the torque went to hell,
yeah,
and so the cars had much better horsepower peaks, but they were behind all the rest of the way until you got close to the peak, and then they excelled. And so the actual area under the curve was demolished after $5,000 of investment.
yeah.
And
Well,
so you got to be careful how you're going to drive the car.
yeah, but there are people that would do that just for the strip times. But if you're going to drive the car, well, then you really want something that's focused on that, and that's pretty fundamental to these design decisions as you've described them.
Now ATS-V spec, do you just swap in the 420 horsepower engine out of the CTS-V spec? It fits in there because the ATS-V uses the up pressure version of the same engine.
There's going to have to be some adjustments in the chassis. I bet the wheels and tires are bigger, for example.
Yeah, but I don't think it has. They'd have to be bigger. I think they will be bigger,
Hmm.
but I'm not sure they have to be.
But it
The
depends on
the
what you mean
ATS
by
has more
bigger.
chassis than it has power now. Is the point I'm trying to
Yeah.
make.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so I think you could actually add more power without going nuts with it. Where they might run into an issue is an ATS-V Sport may be all the power you need in ATS-V. In other
Oh,
words, any sensible person, 420 horsepower in a 3,200 pound car.
well, on the way home today, the traffic was fairly light. Speeds were running a little over 80 as usual, and some guy in a new Ford Focus was slicing through traffic with great glee and abandon when there's a new car. Uh, how much horsepower is enough? Well, it depends on what you mean by enough. He had plenty for what he wanted to do. And no, that Maserati behind me ignored him. I just waved him through, smiled, hi, have a nice day. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, it was enough for him. Every once in a while, I'm starting off through traffic, and up ahead of me somewhere out here, I go, "Whoop," and it's somebody with uh, you know, uh, pulled off the mufflers and cats and some lowered rice burner and is really hooping and hollering and showing off what must be at least 125 horsepower. And that's plenty for him. The car will go 100 mile an hour and it's great fun to drive. You know, so it's just what you want. Now, me. When I buy a car, I either totally ignore performance or I insist that it be the best in class. And so
Yes.
I've got a lot of strange variety in my history of cars, but I've got a few outstanding ones. I bought one that was sort of middle of the road, and it turned out to be an oil burner, and so I rebuilt the engine, and I picked the parts, and my had a pet machine shop put it together, and on their own initiative, they balanced and blueprinted it. You know about that car, yeah. And so I had the strangest '64 Chevrolet Impala station wagon ever to roll the streets of Central Texas. But I liked it. How much is enough? How much is enough? I would like another 100 horsepower, but I'm not going to bust
Get your
my.
checkbook.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. I think I could get it with a chip, and I think my suspension and brakes could handle it. I had somebody in some tiny little thing pulled out from stop traffic directly in front of me while I was going 45. We were just going up US 1. This was like yesterday on the way to work, and all of a sudden the right hand stopped for some reason, and the other two lanes kept going, And this guy decided he was. When I saw him squirt out of the side traffic, I thought he was dead. But you know, with all those computers and all that rubber and the Brembos, I didn't even squeak the tires. And but my dash cam looked like it zoomed up and looked at his license plate. I was thinking about pulling out the memory chip and putting it on YouTube, and then emailing the link to my insurance agent and asking if it was one of his.
Now, tell me about your dash cam some more, because I never have picked out a dash cam.
Well, it's just a little cheap one. It's a pack of cigarettes type. It's not, and it goes on a suction cup mount, and goes down, plugs in the cigarette lighter or other similar outlet, and it takes a 32 gig plate. It's high res, wide angle, but not fisheye. Has excellent color and resolution. But I found out quickly that 32 gig holds about 4.5 hours of video. And I ran the numbers, and sure enough, that's right. That's about what it holds. It will not take a 64 gig card, because when I bought it, I had one, and it wouldn't work. So I got a 32 gig, and the contacts are different. It just will not take a 64. So that basically, if you have a long commute like I did, that's a couple of days, which means that if I don't pull that card out tomorrow, I'm going to lose it. It'll write over the file.
It writes over, but that's okay, because if you had a problem, you would stop it, right? And then you can copy off the file. So. Oh
yeah, if you have an accident, that everybody's going to come out with the spin, but speak softly and carry a dash cam. There's that.
Yeah, I need to look into that to see, because I think that I'm interested in that type thing anyway, and so I need to try and figure out what kind of dash cam to get anymore.
Well, it's an excellent dash cam if you want it for insurance protection and fraud protection. I think it's intended for the truck market and for the insurance market and fleet market. It has almost no features other than excellent performance, and that 32 gig strikes me as an odd limit. It's got good dynamic range. They sell one that's even further upscale that will handle better dynamic range if you're driving into the sun and this kind of thing. But this one does quite well driving into the sun.
Now, how does it do at low light?
Excellent. You can read license plates and stuff like that. Colors are difficult to see on a moonless night in the face of the tail lights and license plate lights, except where headlights shine on the car.
Now, yours is just looking out the front windshield.
Yes. Yeah, it's. I think I paid $125 for it, and I think the same model is going for like 40 or 60 now. I bought it when it just came out. So, but it's an inexpensive model.
Yeah, that's what I need to go research. Is they're always coming out with the newer, better ones, and you got to watch, because some of them only have non-English instructions and so on. But I would like to add a dash cam one of these days, and that's the kind of thing that it would be easy to put into, when my wife's asking me, what do you want for your birthday or your next occasion and so on. That would be something I need to be throwing in there.
If you like to edit video, most of them will produce a bunch of 2.5 to 5 minute files strung together. And if you're good at video editing, well, then you can browse through your day's experiences and pick out anecdotes, which you can select according to whatever motif you want. Select some background music off the web that's copyright unencumbered, and put up incredible YouTube anecdotes of. I've been contemplating the theme. New Jersey is not a driver's ed state, and one thing would be people cutting corners, turning left in front of you, and driving over where you would be if you stopped, which you're like 3 seconds from doing.
So in this week's thread from tonight's video, put more info again about your dash cam, and for those of you playing at home, if you have a dash cam, add info to the thread on the forum.
Okay.
About your dash cam, and let us know which one you have and what your experience. Give us a mini review.
Yeah.
If you have a dash cam, give us a mini review of your dash cam.
Is it too late for you to change the title and put dash cam as one of the keywords on the thread?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna put these instructions on the thread also,
Okay.
but I will change the one of the
That's,
virtues of being an administrator is
yeah. Yeah, I couldn't
you
do
can
that.
do most anything. You can edit the topic title, but I'll add dash cam to. But we're not actually having a lively dash cam conversation, so you'll have to flush it in.
Well, we'll do it
So,
next week because that's obviously a live one. We're just now getting to it late in the talk.
and if you want a Caddy Info dash cam review of your dash cam, send me dash cam, send me your dash cam, and we'll do a live review. So I think that's going to be as long as I'm working my cold. So that's probably we're at 42 minutes of our 30-minute presentation tonight.
We haven't
Thank
seen
you.
Mike yet.
Haven't seen Mike. He'll have to be too late to be on tonight. And we're missing our friend
We got a whole
Vinny.
list. Yeah,
Missing our
Vinny's
friend
not here.
Vinny. Shout out to our friend Roger Allard, who's making
Yeah.
the Allard J2X continuation cars. The Tim Carroll has his new stud design in production now. So
Whoa.
if you're looking for a North Star repair, please consider Carroll Custom Cadillac here in the DFW area. You can ship your car in. They'll pull the heads off, put a new head gasket on, and use their new studs to repair it. Should be a good lifetime repair for you. So thank you very much for being on tonight, Cadillac Jim, and big shout out, of course, to our regular Texas Jim who's not on.
Yeah.
Any themes you want to pass along to our viewers?
Whatever you do, dig it.
Yeah, that if you're not enjoying what you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
As
that's
I like to say, whatever you do, dig it is a
the
good way to put
2000
it.
ways is 2000's way of putting it.
Yeah, stand by. And again, this was the caddyinfo.com Cadillac Conversation chat. We do these on Thursday night, caddyinfo.com, CADDYINFO. It's actually in the name of the video, which makes it an easy place to find it. If you go to the Caddy Info forums, that's where we talk about all things Cadillac. And it's a friendly, relatively technical forum where you don't have some of the static that you get on some other car forums, and you can actually talk more about your car and what's going on without worrying about some of the other things that you have to put up with sometimes out in the wide world on car forums. And so
And it does not have to be supercharged.
does not have to be supercharged, although we prefer them. We prefer blonde Cadillacs. So, okay, stand by, Jim. I'm going to hit stop broadcast.